Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
And I was good at it, and I kind of liked it. And I had a boss who had a very interesting career trajectory where he was a banker and then had burnt out in banking and went to become a chef.
Wow.
And so he knew business, and he was like training me, and he told me, you know, if you can do all of this and accomplish all of this without any formal education, what could you do if you did?
Right.
If you had education. So that kind of planted the seed. It was that and several other experiences that I wanted to go back to school.
Okay. So you worked for Norwegian for 2 years? Did you see a lot of the world?
No, so I was based in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. So basically you saw stuff that you'd already seen, or?
We would just do a loop around, but the vacation periods at Norwegian were significantly longer.
Oh.
So, you know, one of them I was in Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and I would go for months trekking around the world, which was such an incredible experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you're with Norwegian, and then you decide that you're going to go to school. Is that what happened?
I had the idea that I wanted to go back to school. I started looking, given that I never went to college, never took the SAT, the standard place to start would be community college.
Right.
I just could not get excited about community college. I was earning a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was towards the top of my career, and it seemed like starting over, I wanted to see what other options there were out there. Somehow I got into my head that an MBA would be really a great, it was exactly what I was looking for. It was learning the business fundamentals that I wanted for the next step in my career.
Okay.
And so I started calling schools, and I called, you know, and I would just talk to people and say, hey, you know, this is my situation. I want to get an MBA. How do I do that?
Right.
And most people thought I was crazy, but I called one school in the UK and I talked with the admissions team, and this woman was like, you know, you have a really interesting profile. I can see that you've obviously learned skills on the job in your career.
Yeah.
And I did like a whole interview. She was very open to accepting me into the school. Her requirement was I had to score at least in the 80th percentile on the GMAT, which is the entrance exam.
Yeah.
Like the main concern is I never had a high level math. How am I going to do in a economics course? Or, you know, they just wanted to know that I had the level of intelligence to contribute to class, to pass. And I thought that was fair. So, you know, I got a book and I started studying.
And you took the GMAT?
I did, yeah.
How'd you do?
So this is kind of like positioning where I am now. When I started studying, it was horrible. It felt like I was back in high school.
Yeah.
I got like one of those, like, you know, prep for the GMAT in 30 days book. And I just sat there and I tried to do it, and I couldn't focus. I couldn't absorb the information, and I expended so much energy, more than anything in my life. I wanted this.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't make any progress. And, you know, instead of giving up, I started to look at other things that I thought could help.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, everything from meditation, workout routines, different diets. And that's when I discovered nootropics.
Yeah.
I had used stimulants. I had tried different things to treat my ADHD, but my ADHD was less of a problem in the kitchen. So like the type of focus I need to be successful in the kitchen is very different from what I need to study.
Yeah.
So at this time period, I was really looking for something to unlock that next level of focus, and I discovered nootropics.
Wow.
And I bought everything I could find. I would take different ingredients and study. Most of them did nothing, but a couple of them worked. And when I figured out how to combine the ones that worked, it was a game changer. Like I could sit and study and time would melt away. And I just got into this really positive feedback loop where I could see myself learning and improving. And then I wanted to learn and improve more. And it was hard. I'm not going to say that like, I took a pill and it just got easy. It was still a lot of hard work. And there were a lot of things besides nootropics that I did to improve my attention span. But when I went in to take the GMAT, I scored in the 99th percentile.
Wow.
And yeah, it surprised the hell out of me. It was, I wasn't even expecting it was way over the mark from what I had even dreamt of doing.
Yeah. And you were thinking you wanted to be north of 80, and now you're in the 99th percentile. That's incredible. So let's go back for just a second. So what made you, well, I know what motivated you to find nootropics, right? But how did you find it? Like, was it a conversation you had with somebody? Was it, I mean, I know you were motivated because you were trying to get to a place to where you could learn better, right? And be in a different, in a better frame of mind, so to speak, to get to where you could learn better. How did you find nootropics though?
On a forum. So at the time I was going through these forums on like, hey, how do you solve a permutations problem? And so they had like study tips in there too.
Yeah.
And then people were talking like, hey, this was already more than 10 years ago. So nobody had heard of nootropics.
Right.
But it was a niche forum and they're like, hey, I'm taking these things and they're helping me study. They're helping me focus.
Okay.
And again, and I had heard about other things in those forums too. I was just so desperate and so open to anything that I was like, okay, I'll try it.
And you tried some things and they didn't work, and you tried other things and they worked.
Exactly, yeah.
So it was kind of trial and error, basically.
At that stage, yeah. And I tried, the majority of things did not work.
Yeah. So you score 99th percentile, which is huge, by the way. And what happens then?
So this is actually really funny because, my goal was to get into that school.
Yeah.
And now obviously I could get in.
Yeah.
And I was taking a break to apply for schools. And the best job that I could get to pay the bills was as a GMAT tutor. So there was this company at the time, and their main value proposition was we only hire tutors that have scored in the 99th percentile.
Right.
There are not many people that have scored in the 99th percentile.
No kidding.
Willing to tutor.
No kidding.
They pay very well. And yeah, so I was doing that, and I was tutoring these students who were applying to Harvard and Stanford and Wharton, and it just clicked. I'm like, wait, I'm teaching these people and they're going there.
Yeah.
Why don't I go there? Like this doesn't seem right. And it had this like visceral feeling like I really need to focus on getting into one of these schools. And it wasn't just like the unfairness. It was like I was excited hearing about what those places were like and the types of opportunities. And so I started looking. I basically called all of the schools, walked into admissions offices, the same way that I tried it with cooking.
Yeah, with the butcher, with the French baker, right? There's a pattern here.
And a lot of, I'll give you an example. My top school was MIT.
Okay.
for some reason, there was just something so beautiful about kind of like the values. And I read their marketing material and I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So I wrote them. I said, I want to apply. I want to go to your school, but I don't have a high school diploma, a college degree, all of this stuff. Will you read my application? They said no. I called, no, nothing. So I was in Boston. I had moved to Boston to apply to schools. And I just didn't stop. I went to classes. I met students. I met professors. And I was just like relentless. I went into their entrepreneurship program. I interned at startups with, like anything that I could do to spend time on campus with people. And then they went to admissions for me, professors, people from the entrepreneurship thing, students that I had met. And they're like, hey, there's this kid. He's kind of like outside of the norm. He's an outlier, but he scored in the 99th percentile on the GMAT. You need to like listen and at least just like consider it.
Right.
And then they did. They changed their mind and they said, if you apply, we'll read it. I applied. So this was another one. They gave me an interview. It was my first interview. I ended up applying to 7 schools.
Yeah.
And they were my first interview. And I did so horrible. I had practiced so much for this, but I was so nervous that day. And I knew I didn't do well and they rejected me. And I was so depressed after that because of all the time and effort. And not only like, I knew that I didn't do well in the interview.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah. But I ended up, getting into one school, INSEAD. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an incredible school based in Singapore and France.
I'm actually not familiar with it, no, but okay. So it's an incredible school and you got in.
It's one of the top international MBA programs. It's
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Knowing you for the amount of time that I've known you so far, that does not surprise me in the least. Did you have to go down there and meet people and get to know them and that kind of thing, or did they look at your application and consider you?
So any school that I applied to, I had to talk to them first.
Yeah.
And the majority of schools said, we won't accept your application.
Yeah.
INSEAD is much more of an open school, so they were easier to approach. And I had found some people that had graduated from INSEAD that didn't do that. So I'd also done this search for alumni that didn't have undergraduate degrees.
Right.
So, for example, one of the schools I applied to was Harvard Business School.
Right.
I found somebody that graduated that didn't have an undergrad. And he was like halfway through his undergrad and he dropped out to start a company, sold it for tens of millions of dollars, and then went straight into Harvard Business School. And he was very nice. He sat down with me, told me how he did it, but that's a very different profile than me, who had a career as a chef. So through kind of like networking, I'd talked to INSEAD alumni, went to INSEAD events, talked to professors they do international events. So, I went to an event in Boston and stayed after and talked to the admissions committee and the professor. And I passed both interviews and got in.
Wow. I just love your story. You're just not going to accept no for an answer. It's not going to happen, right? It's almost the best thing in the world people can do is tell you no.
So there's a selection bias here. There were other times when I wanted something and I tried everything I could and I just failed. And this is like one of the dangerous things. So I'll almost flip it. Even with this company, I can give you an example of where I failed, but I think that this would be just as illustrative of the point.
Okay.
The first 3 years starting this company, we did between 100 and 200K.
Okay.
And like that's total revenue. So when you take out expenses, we made nothing.
Right.
And at this point, I had an MBA, my friends were making a lot of money, and I'm living in this tiny apartment, eating ramen, literally eating ramen. My
Barely,
Uber
yeah.
like $5 a day,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wouldn't give up. And I got very, very lucky over and over again that things happened and it started to gear up, but it could have just as easily turned. And that where my strength is, I don't give up. Sometimes you do need to give up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I don't know if you need to give up, but you're an absolute success story. And part of the reason you're such a success story is because you haven't given up. So I love that about you, and I love that about your story. Okay. So you get your MBA from INSEAD, and without undergrad, right? You get your MBA and you start Nootropics. Or you start your company, right? Take the thesis, right?
I'll give you, how much time do we have?
About 10 minutes.
Okay. There's a small detour in there. I ended up getting another master's degree from Yale, which is
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. That is really cool.
So because I never had an undergrad degree, and the experience at INSEAD was my first time in college. It was incredible. It was I wanted some time to just like indulge in intellectual curiosity. And so I did a 1-year master's degree at Yale. I took courses in public health, cognitive science, law school, divinity school, drama school. It was kind of like a mini compressed undergrad that for the only real purpose I had was to grow as a human being and learn. And that brought me back to the US. So that's how I got back to the US. I'd been abroad for about 10 years. And after school, I moved to New York, tried to start a company, it failed. Then I went to work for somebody else, working in early stage startups. Nootropics was always a foundational habit. So I was taking them every day. I was giving them to friends, family, and when I decided to start this company, I was still in a lot of student debt. And I was in between roles, and I had another job that I was about to take, and I was making the very early stages of our product in my apartment and selling it to friends. Not as a business, just for fun. And I liked giving nootropics to people and having them see the same benefits as me.
Right.
And a friend gave me like a really inspiring talk, and he was like, do you want to eat? Basically, like, there's never a good time to start a business. And even though I was in debt, I had something that people wanted, that I enjoyed making for them, and I should give it a shot. And so I turned down the job offer and I just went all in. I incorporated it as a business. This was like early 2017.
Right.
And again, like I just mentioned, it was 3 years of struggle. Like, product gets better, but then marketing needs to be adjusted. And it was just constant like starts and stops and going broke and running out of money for rent and back and forth. And then we finally started to get some traction.
So you get some traction. So what is Nootropics made of? So you were making it, you mentioned, in your apartment.
Yeah, here. So let me show you.
Okay.
This is a box from those early days when I was making it in my apartment.
Okay.
You can see it's very do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
And basically, this is hand embossed. I don't know why I used hot pink. There's black, there's blue. And it's just kind of like a packet of pills.
Yeah.
And people, I would take a packet of pills every morning. I take a packet of pills in the afternoon, and they enhance cognitive function. So they boost levels of neurotransmitters. This is greatly simplifying the science.
Yeah, I got you.
In a similar way to, when you look at psychoactive medications, they do more or less similar things, just in a less lower magnitude of effects, but also lower side effect profile.
Right. So nootropics helped you study better, helped you focus better, you felt better.
Yeah. So this is our product now.
Yeah.
This is clarity. This is what I take when I want to focus. This is confidence. This is what I took today before this interview.
Okay.
So this has ingredients that boost serotonin and GABA.
Okay.
I still suffer from performance anxiety a little bit when I do podcasts.
Yeah.
This calms my nerves. It allows me to, increase verbal fluency, really get into the conversation much better, and it takes the edge off.
Yeah, that's cool. So you have one for clarity, you have one for confidence. Are there any others that you offer that you have?
We have a lot more. We
Okay.
have more than just what's here, but
By the way, I already knew this because I've been on your
motivation,
website.
creativity. Yeah.
Right? Show us, hold on, show us again. Show us again.
I don't even have all of them here.
Okay.
The main thing that we do as a company, the value proposition,
Energy and creativity. Okay.
is in those early days, it took me 6 months to find my formula.
Yeah.
I had to try different ingredients, and thank God I didn't give up.
Yeah.
A lot of people will just pick up a nootropic and say, okay, I'm going to try this, and it'll work or it doesn't. And then they just give up. But what they really need to do, what you need to find the right ingredients for your brain chemistry. And that's what Thesis does. So for the majority of customers, they'll go to our website, they'll take a quiz, tell us about themselves, their goals. And then instead of sending them just one formula, we send them 4. So this is what would come inside of a box. They take each one for a week. Maybe not all of them work. That's okay.
Yeah.
You try, so it's still kind of like that trial and error system. But instead of, when I first did it, it took me 6 months and thousands of dollars to find my formula. A user could do it in less than a month for less than $100.
Wow. That's awesome. So that's part of what I love about your website, and I love about what you're doing is it's interactive, right? People are going in and they're telling you, I need more energy. I need more clarity. I need more confidence. I need, right? And you're able to provide them with something that as a supplement can help them to gain whatever it is that they're looking for, confidence, energy, clarity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very cool thing. That's cooler than most people realize. And that's why when I read your story on the website, I was super excited to have you come on and tell us your life story. And I'm so glad that we did this because you're a walking, talking, living example of don't give up. When people tell you no, or they tell you to F off or whatever, you just figure a way around it, right? You just figure a way to go. How many people in this world get an MBA and don't have any undergrad? Come on, be honest. Okay. No, seriously, you are incredibly unique. And I'm so unbelievably, I'm so grateful and so blessed that we had an opportunity to spend this time together. And I got an opportunity to meet you. And most importantly, that we have your story available for our listeners. I cannot thank you enough for joining us on the Mike Litton Experience.
Thank you. I think I would agree with you that some of my accomplishments are unique. I do think that everybody's capable of that.
Yeah.
And I was also very lucky. So many steps from, the chef who brought his chef coat in and gave me a shot. There were so many things that who knows where I would have been without him. Yeah. And, for anyone listening to the story, there were so many times when I just didn't know what life could be. So when I dropped out of high school, I was making sandwiches at Subway, and I didn't have a concept of like the world's bigger, there's different careers, there's all of these different things. And, just knowing that it's out there and, that there are things, whether it's nootropics or, working out, different diets, different meditation routines that can really help improve performance and get you into this positive flywheel.
Yeah, that's just awesome, man. Dan, I cannot thank you enough. I am so grateful that you were here, and I'm so unbelievably blessed that we had an opportunity to meet and get your story. Thank you again for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate it, buddy. And we're going to put a link to your website on your description so people can go there, okay?
Okay, perfect. We can get you a discount code too.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, buddy. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.